Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and welcome to the review of the action thriller starring Alan Ritchson from Reacher fame, Motor City. And in this film, he plays an ex-con on a quest for revenge against a gangster who framed him for a crime he didn't commit and stole his girlfriend in 1970s Detroit. The film also stars Ben Foster and Shailene Woodley, and I was anticipating this film because I'm a huge Alan Ritchson fan, going all the way back to Blue Mountain State, if you ever watched that show. But I enjoyed him on Titans. I enjoyed him, of course, in Reacher and other properties that he popped up in, and I always felt that Alan Ritchson should live and breathe in these type of action films. Just your standard kind of throwback 90s, 80s action movies. Because, of course, he has the physique. He's built like a tank. He is a freak of nature. But he's also a real good actor. I really do enjoy his work. And, of course, on Reacher, how he took that character and basically made it his own. And I've always wanted to see him in these type of action films. So when I saw the trailer for this movie a couple of months back, I was like, oh man, give me this. Give me this all day long. This is a film that has little to zero dialogue. I think there's maybe 8 lines of dialogue in this movie. It is one of these action films. I think you can compare it to Silent Night that came out a couple of years ago. There's another one, but I'm blanking on it right now that I enjoyed. But maybe not too much because I can't remember it right now. But I like those type of movies that are driven by the action, driven by the story itself. You don't need dialogue to shepherd you into it. The action speaks for itself. And Motor City is just like that. I didn't know that going in. I actually was blind to that. I thought that it was going to be a standard movie with dialogue and these really good actors who are a part of this film driving the story along. But no, no, it is very minimal dialogue in this film. And I'm not mad at it. I will say, even though I give this an overall positive review, there are many flaws in this movie that I just could not help but point out. There are more flaws than positives, but I'm still giving it a positive review. Oddly enough, it's weird, but I'll explain. Allow me to explain myself. The positives: Alan Ritchson. Alan Ritchson is a freak of nature. He is born to be an action movie star. I really do enjoy him in this movie. He isn't your, he looks like the Terminator, man. He is, you look at his physique and you know that he could just tear a hole through everybody if need be. And it's not so. His character takes a beating. He gets stabbed. He gets beat up. He gets shot. I mean, he goes through the ringer here. So it's not like he's this unstoppable force trained by the Green Berets or something like that. No, it's nothing like that. He really is a normal guy in of sorts who is going through all of this stuff. But with that being said, the stuff that he went through, no normal human being would be able to walk around or make it to the end of this story. Nobody could make it through all of the stuff he had to endure in this film. But I have to remind myself, it's a movie. Of course. Of course you're going to survive all of the craziness that he goes through. Ben Foster, who I am a huge fan of, he is one of those slept on actors, in my humble opinion, because he isn't talked about enough to me, you know, at least not in my circles or what I follow and what I listen and read. I don't see Ben Foster's name batted around enough as one of those actors who you would consider for a Marvel movie or a DC film, you know, in that upper echelons of actors. But Ben Foster, he really won me over in that film that came out, I don't know, about 20 something years ago with Bruce Willis called Hostage. Man, that movie was so good. And Ben Foster in that film was so good. And he's been good in everything. I mean, go through his filmography. 30 Days of Night come to mind. And he had a small role in that movie, but it was an important role and he gave it his all. And I'm just a big fan of his. And he was great in here too, as the villain, as the antagonist of this story, being a foil for Alan Ritchson's character in this film. Shailene Woodley, who we all know from the Divergent films and whatnot, she's the girlfriend in this film. She had a great role as well. Probably the sexiest role I've ever seen her in. I haven't seen everything she's been in, but boy, she was sexy in this one. And she was good. I say all that to say this. All of these actors could have mailed this role in, or their roles in, respectively. But they didn't. Everybody brought it. And that impressed me so much. This could have easily been a paycheck movie. You know what I'm saying? Like a little throwaway action movie. We don't even have lines of dialogue in it. You know, this is gonna be easy cakewalk. But no, because the lack of dialogue, you have to work harder because you got to convey through emotion. You have to convey through your acting. And they did that. They carried the story along without uttering a word. That's not easy, people. That's not an easy task. It's actually harder without dialogue. And I am super impressed by the way they pulled it off. And all of these actors, I mean, from top to bottom, whether you were the star of the film or supporting, you brought it. You told your story. And I tip my hat to everybody who was cast in this film, not just our leads. And the soundtrack, which also helped move this story along. That rock soundtrack from the 70s and early 80s helped shape this film because the soundtrack was doing the telling without the actors being able to do the talking, you know? And I feel that was a great creative choice to use this particular soundtrack, the music that they used, to not only express the era that we're in the late 70s, but also help this story, tell the story. Now I'm going to kind of transition into my negatives here. The action, this is an action thriller, and the action didn't really connect as much with me. They had some decent, it was some brutal action, but not any like standout action sequences, whereas I can sit back and say, man, that scene where Alan Ritchson is fighting so and so or shooting at this gang or whatever, man, that was awesome. No, it's just standard. Now the fight in the elevator with him and Pablo Schreiber was, boy, that was brutal. That was brutal. That was now that stood out. That was the one shining moment in the film, as far as action is concerned. But everything else was just paint by numbers action, and it didn't really impress me too much. It didn't offend me, but it didn't impress me either. The film also dragged a little bit. Well, not a little bit. It dragged. It was like they were stretching it out to kind of meet the standards of a official movie length. And that's the way it felt, because it drugged, man. And I found myself at moments getting a little bored. like, okay, let's get to the meat and potatoes here, because normally in your normal average movie, when you get breaks in action or breaks between big, dramatic portions of the movie, you get dialogue to kind of fill you in. You get these moments of conversation between two characters or something like that. This film doesn't have that. There's no dialogue. So it got bored when you're in these draggy scenes and there's nothing going on. There's no talking. Yeah, they're moving around, they're doing stuff, but that stuff was not needed. It didn't really help move the story along at all. It was just there to kind of stretch the movie out, and it felt a little boring. And unfortunately, the end was it fell kind of flat for me. I wanted to be excited how it ended, but no, it didn't. I did not like the ending of this movie. It was not earned. I felt it just felt cheap. It felt tacked on. You know, I I, I can't really go into the explaining it without spoiling it, but it just felt tacked on. It didn't fit the movie to me. The movie should have ended like 5 minutes earlier. Just 5 minutes early. We didn't even need that scene at the end. It would have ended the movie there at 5 minutes earlier. I think the movie would have fared out a little better. It probably would have been basic. Nothing to write home tell mom about. But hey, that's fine. It was a fine ending if it would have ended there. But no, they decided to tack on this final scene to kind of stretch out the movie yet again, and it was unnecessary and unsatisfying. But hey, the movie was enjoyable, I would say. I think the performances were excellent. The soundtrack was banging for all of our old heads in the audience, and the action sequences were decent enough to make it a passable action film. Overall, I give Motor City a C. Yeah, it was average. It's nothing that I would probably run back to go. Well, I definitely wouldn't run back to the theater to go see, but nothing I would seek out. But if it's on television, and I'm channel surfing and I see that it's on, I'll probably stop and check it out. It's one of those. It's one of those movies. But that's just one man's opinion. I could be in the minority here. Maybe you enjoyed it. Maybe you thought it was an excellent action film. I would love to know your opinions. You can let me know on our website, the kbradionetwork.com, where you can subscribe and be updated and notified on all of our episodes as they drop. Also on YouTube, subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video while you're there. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Concession Stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Motor City. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.